Hi, my name is Trey Brimmer. I'm with Mitel. Today I'm going to talk about the 5330 phone and a little bit about the voicemail. First, let's start off with some things you probably need to remember. First of all, you don't need to dial a 1 for a long-distance call with the system. You can just dial the area code and phone number. You do need the area code for all outside calls, so you'll have to dial the area code even if it's a local call. The mailbox password by default is 1111, but once you go in the first time, it'll have you customize it. If you accidentally dial 911, don't hang up. Tell the 911 operator that you made a mistake so they won't dispatch a police officer. To make an outgoing call, you must press 8 or you can press 9 first. Either will work. Now let's take a peek at the phone. Starting at the very top, over to the right-hand side, we're going to start there and work our way down. So starting with the message waiting lamp, there it is, message indication lamp. That'll blink when you have new voicemail messages, similar to probably how it works now for you. Below that, you have your volume up and down arrow, which will allow you to adjust each piece of volume separately. If you turn on your speaker, you're adjusting the volume for your speaker. If you pick up the handset, you're adjusting the volume for that. And if you leave the phone on the hook when a call rings in, adjust the ringer volume before picking it up. It'll adjust that. The speaker key is the next key. That'll allow you to be on speakerphone. You don't have to press that button to be on speakerphone, though. Just like your phones now, if you start dialing while the handset's in the cradle, you'll be on speaker automatically, and then you just pick up the handset whenever you want to take it off speaker. The next key is your mute key. It'll allow you to mute either the handset or the speaker, and basically you can hear them, they can't hear you. Below that are your fixed function keys, starting with the applications key, that blue key there. That's going to be all the settings of the phone. There are some tools in there as well, and we'll go through that a little separately, but that's where you'll find all the things like setting up your forwarding, setting up your buttons that are blank to be either an outside number or an internal extension. So there's a lot of functionality within that key. The next key is your cancel key. It's going to allow you to cancel a transfer or out of a conference. The way it works is if you're transferring a call and you realize you dialed the wrong extension, you can hit the cancel key and it'll take you back to the caller. Or if you're doing the same with the conference call, you're trying to add someone in and you go to their voicemail or something, you don't want to conference that in, you can hit the cancel key. It'll take you back to the other caller. So it's like taking a step back. The next key is your redial key. It's a 1, 2, 3 at the arrow. It'll allow you to redial the last internal or outside number that you dialed. Starting at the next line, the hold key, the red key, will allow you to hold a call by pressing the red key. It'll flicker your line key, and you'll press your line key to retrieve the call. The transfer/conference key, that's a 2-function key. The first part of it is the transfer. The way a transfer works is if you have a call and you want to transfer it to someone, you'll press that button, you'll dial the extension number, and hang up the phone to complete the transfer. So similar to how it works now for you. If I wanted to transfer it, I would do the same exact thing. I would hit the transfer key, the arrow with the 3 people in it, dial your extension, and then I'll stay on the line, though, talk to you privately first, and then hang up the phone to complete it. So those are the 2 kinds of transfers you have. You also can do a conference call from this, and it's almost identical to doing a transfer. The only difference is you won't hang up. You'll just press the button again. So if I wanted to either call someone or get someone on the line, they've called me, and I now want to set up a conference, I'll press the button, I'll dial someone's extension or outside number, and once I get them on the line, I can have the same flexibility I would with a transfer where I can tell them, bring them up to speed privately so the other people in the conference won't hear it, and when I'm ready to connect this all together, I'll press the button one more time. So basically it's dial the extension, hit conference, dial another extension, hit conference, and when you hit conference twice, you're connected. Okay. You can do up to 8 people on a conference call, so it's pretty robust. You can get a lot of people on there. The next key is your messages key. It'll allow you to access your voicemail box. If you have a new voicemail message, that key will blink along with that message key we saw up above. And when it's blinking, you'll know you have messages. And all you have to do is pick up the handset or hit speaker, press that button, and it'll ask for your passcode and you're in. It doesn't have to be lit up or blinking for you to access it, though. You can do it while it's blinking or not. Just remember to hit speaker first and press the button, and that's best practice to get to your voicemail. Initially, again, your passcode is going to be 1111, but when you go in, it's going to ask you to pick a new passcode, put in your name, and to create a message people will hear when they call you. Below that is the phone keypad. Then starting at the center, we're just going to break that down. There's little lines that separate out the little areas. So we'll take a look at the phone in your office. Here's a display of one of the phones in your office. Starting at the very top, you can see it has the time and the date in there. And that's when I took a picture of the phone. So the time and date will always display. Below that hard line and below and before the dotted line is an information area that'll tell you things. Currently, it's telling you it's the redial location while the phone is idle. It's just giving you information. But when a call rings in, that's where you're going to look to see the caller identification information, or if it's an internal extension, or if it's like when we were talking about the conference calling, I'm connected to people. It'll tell me how many people I'm connected with, 3-person conference, 4-person conference. So it's informational only. Below the dotted line and before the hard line, that's a soft key area. There'll be it's a dynamic area. It changes depending on the conditions of the phone. Right now, while the phone is idle, it's offering you a phone book, so you'll have someone to call. The phone book on here is by last name. So when you press the button, it'll ask you to start putting in the letters of the last name. You'll use your dial pad for that. And obviously, the more letters you put in, the closer you're going to get. But you could just put in a single letter and search through all the M's or all the A's or whatever you put in there. That area will also change, like, for example, when you're doing a conference, it'll give you the option to split that conference. Split it means it'll split them up onto different lines, so you can go back and forth between the lines. Once you hit split, it'll then offer you a trade button. Sorry about that. It'll offer you a trade, so you can trade back and forth between the calls. So for some reason you needed to separate the callers on this conference up, you can hit the split, and then trade will bounce you between the two callers. Below that hard line, you have 2 blank keys. Those will be for you to program to be whatever you want. It could be someone's internal extension, it could be an outside number, or it could be a feature that you like. If, let's just say you can't get used to the transfer key, you could conceivably put a transfer button up there. The next key that we programmed is your history. That's call history. It's like caller identification history. It's lit right now because you missed a call. It'll say missed call next to it, but it always lights up when a call is missed, just to give you an indicator that you may have missed a call. Maybe they didn't leave a voicemail message, but someone called and hung up. When you press the lit button there, it's going to separate out the calls by missed calls, received calls, and dialed calls, so you can look at caller ID, time, and all that by depending on what the conditions were of the call. Below that, you have CSWD, which is call forward. This is where you'll turn on and off your call forward. It doesn't let you program it. We'll program it through that blue key, and I'll show you what that looks like. But that's once you programmed it to be, say, your cell phone number, then you can go to this button here, turn it on and off from there. The next button is your headset button. If you wear a wired headset, that's the button you'll use to turn that on and off. If it's lit, it's on. Remember, everything on the phone's a toggle, so to press it to turn it on, it'll be lit. Turn it off, will be off. D&D is do not disturb. That'll shut your phone off for all inbound call traffic. All calls will go straight to voicemail when you're in do not disturb. It'll be lit, and there will be a little circle up there where the time and date is with a line through it to give you a little indicator as well. Then you have line 2 and an extension number. The extension number is actually line 1. It's just showing you the extension while the phone is idle. But when a call comes in, that extension will be replaced with caller identification information, and the light will light next to it, blinking to indicate there's a call ringing. When you have a second line in, that also the line 2 will go away, and it'll show you the caller identification across that line. So not only will it display it up top initially when the call comes in, but once you've answered the call, it'll show up on the line that you're talking on. All the calls will populate from the bottom up, so the first call will always be at the bottom. When you get a second call, it'll always be line 2. You'll notice just below that there's a dotted line, and it has a bunch of stars and a 1, and then there's like looks like little turn pages there. Those are there because you can go to multiple pages on this phone. You can see that you have 2 blank keys on the top there that you can program, but you'll also have an additional 16 buttons across 2 pages, so 8 buttons per page. So using the arrow keys, you can scroll through. So you can kind of, make one of the pages all internal extensions. You can make another page all outside numbers, or, separate it out however you see fit. But that's a way to kind of organize your numbers, and you can put quite a few in there. Next, let's talk about the applications key. That's the one we saw when we were going down the right-hand side of the phone. It's the blue key that's on the phone. This is going to take you into all the settings. We're not going to go too deep into this, but I do want to kind of give you a quick overview of how to program one of those blank keys. So we'll go through that. It will be listed on a sheet as well. And this is something you can handle usually on your own without a lot of assistance. Just play with it. You can't really mess it up. But you'll press that blue key. When you press it, it looks like this, where it gives you different options. Some of these options aren't really available to you, and some are. So the ones you really need to look at, one is you don't need the voicemail. That's a visual voicemail. It's an extra feature. You don't need the call history because we put that button on the front of your phone. But you do need the call forward. That's where when you press that button, it'll allow you to put in a phone number to forward your phone out to. Remembering that when you forward your phone off premises to a cell phone, it goes to your cell phone voicemail. It won't go to your voicemail at your desk. So you're actually just forwarding it off premises. Once you put your number in there, remembering that you need 9 or 8 in there, area code and phone number, to forward it, and you activate it, then that will turn on the forwarding on the front of the phone, and then you can turn that on and off. You don't ever have to put the number back in if that's the only number you're ever forwarding to. Conference unit, you don't have those. Settings, we're going to look at that in a second. That's where you're going to program your blank buttons on your phone. Super key is a place where you can go into to change your ringtone, and that's why that key's there. There's a ringtone. You'll scroll through the different settings under super key, and you'll see one that says ring adjust, and then you can go tone, and then change your tone. There's 10 different tones in there that just vary slightly, so you could, if you're sitting in cubes among other people, you could be away from your desk and hear your phone ring. Get used to your tone. The next one below that is call information. It's just the date, time, and all the goodies on the last call that you received. And then cordless device has to do with if you're wearing a Mitel headset that's cordless, or if you have a cordless handset, which I'm not sure if anyone does there, but if they do, you could go there and check the battery life and sync it up if there was a problem. So that's kind of where all the settings are on that. So let's go ahead and look at settings, which is just above the super key. And that's where we're going to go ahead and do our programmable keys. You can see that's the first function. Just look below, though. You can see the other functions, and they're just basic stuff. You can change the language, change the text size, brightness and contrast, screensaver that it has. I would stay away from screensaver. It looks like your phone's dead. But most of those functions you're not going to really use. The one you will use is the programmable keys. So let's go ahead and press that. When you press programmable keys, the thing I'm not showing you here is it's going to ask you to select a button. So you can then use the silver arrow keys to scroll to the other pages that you have, the other 2 pages, and just press the button you want to program. The only buttons that are programmable are the ones below where you see closed on here, all those 8 buttons below that. Anything blank, you can program. So you have 2 on the first page, and you have 16 on the other pages, so a total of 18 buttons you can program. Once you choose the button, it'll give you this display. It'll say, well, what do you want to make that button? So you can make it a speed call or a private speed call, which are basically the same thing. And then below that, it starts with music, and these are all features or functions that the phone can do, like the little buttons that you can create. The music, I want to avoid that, but a lot of the stuff you'll never use, nor will you need. But you can see at the very bottom it says features 1 of 6, so there's lots of different functions you can make a button into. Mostly you're going to be dealing with speed call or private speed call, so let's look at those. The only difference between speed call and a private speed call is a private speed call will not display the number on your phone. So if you put your home phone number on there, you don't want people looking at your phone and getting your home phone number, you'd make it a private speed call. If you don't care, you can make it a regular. They both set up the same. So you press one of those 2 keys, and it's going to ask you, hey, let's label and number this. You can also see it says save. You won't need to do that because we haven't done anything. Edit information, that's what we will do to start programming that key. But there is also a clear key on there. So if you ever have a key that you've set up on your phone and you want to get rid of it and put someone new on it, you can just go into the same function and hit clear key and it'll clear it out, and then you can relabel it, rename it, put something else in there. So what you'll press is edit information. And edit information will bring you to where it says label. Labels on here can be as simple or as complex as you would like. It gives you a little cool little lettering device down below. You can see where it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 0, and then it starts with the alphabet. The way you operate that is you press the button continuously. You can do it slowly, though, until you land the cursor on the letter you want to select. So if I wanted to select, say, mom, I would go into the buttons associated to the I, J, K, and I would press that several times until you see a little cursor go across the M. Then I would stop for a second on the M and would add it up top. If you mess up, there's a backspace button you can see up near the label, and you can backspace out of it. Once you have the label in, the nice thing about this label too is that you see lowercase here, but if you hit next page, you would get uppercase letters, and it has dashes and dots, so you can really make it the way you want. You'll notice in front of the A there's a space, and that's so you can put a space between the first and last name if you wanted to. So you could spell the first name and then press the button once in front of the A to get a space and then put in the last name. I make it sound more complex than it is, but if you play with it a little bit, you'll be an expert at it. It doesn't take long at all. Once you get the label in there the way you want, then you hit edit number. Edit number will take you, it'll drop it down, and then you use the keypad on your phone to put in the phone number. Remembering that when you're programming a button, you want to make sure that the 8 or 9 for outgoing is there, and then the phone number, area code and phone number are in there. So you put 9, in my case, it would be 314 because I'm in St. Louis, and then the phone number associated to it. Once you get the number in, you'll say OK, and then you'll hit close to get out of it completely. You'll notice down below, though, when you're putting in your number, you do have a flash and a pause. You probably won't use the flash, but the pause is nice if you have a conference bridge that you join, so you can put in the phone number for the conference bridge and then put a couple pauses in there and then put in the PIN number, so that way it has a chance to connect before it puts in the PIN. So each time you join that conference now, you won't have to remember the PIN number. Just press the button. So it makes it pretty snappy. So that's all there is to do on that. There is a little more detail on the sheets, but I just want to give you kind of the flavor of it. Now let's talk about the message key. This is your voicemail key, basically. If you want to access voicemail, I told you all you have to do is hit speaker and press that button, or pick up the handset and press that button. It'll ask for your passcode and you'll be in. If for some reason you want to call someone, if for some reason you want to leave someone a voicemail message without calling them, you could go ahead and press that button. It'll ask for your password, but rather than put your passcode in, you can just go ahead and hit star. It then will ask for the extension number you want to dial. Then you can dial that extension and leave someone a message. Here's kind of a flow sheet that you'll be given. It has the initial passcode of 1111 up top, so you can see that's well documented everywhere. And once you initially put that in, it's going to have you go through a tutorial. It's going to have you change your name, change your passcode, put in a greeting. So you'll want to do that and get it customized as quickly as you can once the system cuts over. Below in the box there, it's all the ways you can access the voicemail from either your phone, from another phone in the office, or from outside. So there's lots of different ways to access voicemail. The little flow sheet that you see, the New Point Messenger flow sheet, will tell you all the things that you can do within the voicemail. Really, there's just 3 things. You can play messages, you can make a message, or you can go ahead and go into your user options and do things like change your name, change your passcode, redo your greeting. So let's start with play message. Right below the P for play message, you can see that it gives you all the little star. We'll rewind it 5 seconds. So if someone says their phone number really fast and you need to hear it again, you can hit star. There's a fast forward in there. There's a pause for 30 seconds, which is nice if someone pokes their head in your office and you're listening to messages. You can just press 1, pause it for 30 seconds, talk to them really quick, and then it'll start up again. So there's some options. Then they'll show you what you do after the message is played. You can play it again. You can answer that person who has left the message. You can give it to another user. You can keep it. You can discard it. You can start a message. You just hit 6 or the M button and just immediately begin leaving someone else a message, or you can exit. So that's kind of how it flows. It's not a lot of mystery, to be honest with you. It tells you everything every time you're in there. Creating a message, when you're leaving someone a message, you always have the ability to rewind it, you can discard it or re-record it, you can append it. But also you have some delivery options that you can set up. So I just go through those really quick so you know what they are. You can make something confidential. So if I leave you a message and I mark it as confidential, that message can't be forwarded to anyone else. So if you ever have a message and you're trying to forward it to someone and it won't forward, your voicemail isn't broken. Someone has marked it as confidential. You can get a request a receipt, so when it gets listened to, you would know when it got listened to. You can mark things as urgent. If you mark something as urgent, it moves it to the front of the person's list, and it notifies them when they go into voicemail there's an urgent message. And you can mark things for future delivery. So if I want a voicemail to go to you at midnight, I could do that. Then under user options, you can see just change passwords, change greetings, change names. There is a distribution list, which means that you can have a number go out to multiple extensions or voicemail boxes. Most people use email now for that, and there's a sheet that's going to be really